Hello students, welcome to All4C Learning. We are learning chemical properties of ethers. This is session 72. In previous session, we learned few properties of ethers, particularly chemical properties with respect to alkyl group, chemical properties with respect to ethereal oxygen, and chemical properties with respect to OC bond cleavage. Let us continue chemical properties with respect to OC bond cleavage. And in previous session we was learned that ethers forms oxonium salts with mineral acids. Ethers forms oxonium salts with mineral acids. Whereas that mineral acids are stable only at low temperature. With increasing temperature, their stability decreases. Now, let us see how ethers are going to react with H2SO4. With H2SO4. Ethers upon reaction with dilute H2SO4. So, means let us recall once alcohol properties. In alcohol, ethyl alcohol upon reaction with 110 degrees Celsius, we are getting upon heating with means dehydration with concentrated sulfuric acid at 110 degrees Celsius, we are getting ethyl hydrogen sulfate, right? And at 140 degrees Celsius, we are getting diethyl ether, and at 170 degrees Celsius, we are getting alkene, right? Now, similar reaction, how with ether sulfuric acid is going to react. Let us see. Sulfuric acid and heat C2H5 OC2H5 upon reaction with sulfuric acid. As sulfuric acid first gives a proton, and this oxygen gets the proton and it converts into C2H5OH ethyl alcohol. The remaining C2H5 part combined with HSO4, that what we call ethyl hydrogen sulfate. That means here with at low temperature forms oxonium salts. With increasing temperature, what happens? SN2 reaction takes place and HSO4 minus NX upon carbon, we are getting ethyl hydrogen sulfate. This ethyl alcohol formed ethyl alcohol upon reaction with H2SO4 again. Here C2H5HSO4 and H2O. That means here 1 mole ether diethyl ether upon reaction with 2 moles of sulfuric acid, we are getting 2 moles of ethyl hydrogen sulfate and water. That means here initially with sulfuric acid diethyl ether forms oxonium salts, and with increasing temperature there is oxonium salts stability decreases. Because of stability decreases, what happened? Dissociates or decomposes, and upon decomposition we are getting ethyl hydrogen sulfate. Just like it is reverse reaction to alcohol to ether reaction, right? Now, if it is diethyl ether, okay, fine. Now, I used to consider one is tertiary butyl and ethyl or methyl ether. Tertiary butyl and methyl ether means this one upon treatment with H2SO4 and heat. So what happens? First protonation takes place here. After protonation, OH plus we are going to get OH plus here, and this bond is going to break because of tertiary carbocation is more stable. Then we are getting CH3 plus, and here methyl alcohol separate out. And from here what happened? One of the hydrogen comes out, means this H plus taken by HSO4 minus, and it comes out as H2SO4. Further we are getting product, elimination product, isobutene. Hope you understand? In case of diethyl ether, you are getting ethyl hydrogen sulfate. Because of here we are using sulfuric acid. The sulfuric acid also concentrated sulfuric acid, not dilute sulfuric acid, concentrated sulfuric acid and heat. So heat obviously what temperature we are going to maintain? Based upon that product we are getting, right? So diethyl ether, you are writing ethyl hydrogen sulfate. When we are using methyl tetrabutyl methyl ether, in such a case you are writing methyl alcohol. From methyl alcohol you are not supposed to get any elimination product, and here you are getting isobutane. Now with concentrated sulfuric acid this reaction happens. Now with concentrated HI, generally two reactions are possible here. Cold HI, hot HI, two reactions are there. So instead of concentrated HI, let us say HI in cold condition and HI in a hot condition we will discuss. Now ethers say ROR upon reaction with HI. So we learn now with the mineral acid what happened? Oxonium salts. Yes, that will be stable only at low temperature, but with increasing temperature the stability decreases, right? Now with the HI and heat, what happened? First here protonation RORH plus, later I minus, here what left? That one attacks upon this alkyl group. Again which reaction is SN2 mechanism, and we are getting ROH plus RI. That means ethers upon reaction with HI, we are getting alcohol and alkyl halide or alkyl iodide. Now, sir, if it is symmetrical ether, so which alcohol you are getting, which alkyl iodide you are getting, that is not a question here, because of both alkyl groups are same. Now, if it is unsymmetrical ether, in case of unsymmetrical ether, what happens? Let us see CH3OC2H5, ethyl methyl ether upon reaction with HI, first protonation, resultant we are getting CH3OH plus and C2H5. Now I minus has to attack. This I minus attacking takes place either this carbon or this carbon. Again, in previous session whatever we learned, the same thing happens. I minus prefers to attack at less hindered carbon. I minus prefers to attack upon less hindered carbon rather than more hindered carbon. Now this I minus prefers to attack upon methyl group. That's why we are getting methyl iodide along with ethyl alcohol. That means here always halide ion attacks upon small alkyl group. Always halide ion attacks upon small alkyl group. Now if it is, means which mechanism here again? It is SN2 mechanism. Now I am going to consider one is tertiary butyl and methyl ether. Tertiary butyl, methyl ether. This one upon treatment with HI. So as usual, oxygen get protonated. Resultant we are getting oxonium salts type reaction. So OH plus and CH3. Now what we are expecting? I minus has to attack. So again two possibilities. I minus prefers to attack upon this carbon or this carbon. Where it will attack? Generally, just now what I said, based on that point, what you are going to say? I minus prefers to attack upon small alkyl group. That means I minus has to attack upon methyl group. That's why this OC bond has to cleavage, right? But it won't happen here because here it can form stable carbocation by shifting the CO bond electron towards positively charged oxygen. Here CO bond cleavage takes place, resultant we are getting CH3 and positive charge here. Along with that methyl alcohol. Now tertiary butyl carbocation formation takes place. Because of tertiary butyl carbocation formation takes place, I minus attacks upon carbocation. Resultant we are getting tertiary butyl iodide. Just now only you make the statement, always I minus or halide ion prefers to go to small alkyl group you mentioned. But here in the product you wrote that I minus along with big alkyl group. Yes. So which one is correct, sir? Both are correct. If mechanism is SN2 mechanism, then I minus prefers to attack upon less hindered alkyl group, means a small alkyl group. If whenever carbocation formation takes place here, it proceeds via SN1 mechanism. Because of SN1 mechanism, here what we can say? It I minus prefers to attack upon that carbocation. So which carbocation is more stable? Upon that particular carbon only I minus prefers to attack. And 2 points. Point number 1. Because of carbocation formation, there is a possibility for rearrangements. And if it is cyclic compound, ring expansions also possible. Don't forget that. And possibility number 2. After formation of carbocation, suppose this positively charged carbon is attached to 3 different groups, alkyl groups. In such a case, that I minus may attack either of the side. That means because of your carbocation is planar, and this I minus may attack upon either this side or this side. Because of carbocation has a planar geometry, attacking the nucleophile may attack either of the direction resultant. You are getting a mixture of products. That means you are getting a racemic mixture. That racemic mixture you can notice only in case of chiral carbon. If there is no chirality, then we are getting only one product. With dilute HI or cold HI, cold condition will have. Now, if we are using hot HI, let us see. I am going to use diethyl ether. Diethyl ether upon reaction with cold HI, cold dilute HI. Let us assume cold dilute HI. Then we are getting products. One is alcohol, ethyl alcohol. Another one is ethyl iodide. Fine. Now, if the same diethyl ether upon reaction with hot concentrated HI, so initially forms ethyl alcohol and ethyl iodide, but the formed ethyl alcohol also protonates. Let us see. In first case, what we are getting? Ethyl alcohol and ethyl iodide. But because of we are using hot concentrated, and moreover this one we are using excess. Because of excess of HI, what happened? This ethyl alcohol further reaction with HI, this OH group protonates C2H5OH2 plus, and upon this one attacking of I minus, again this is SN2 reaction, and we are getting C2H5I plus H2O. That means with hot concentrated HI, we are getting only alkyl halide. Let us see one more reaction. C2H5OCH3. This one upon reaction with cold dilute HI with hot concentrated HI. What are the products? So in case of cold dilute HI, you are getting first protonation. I minus prefers to attack upon less number of carbon containing alkyl group. In such a case, we are getting C2H5OH and CH3I. And with hot concentrated HI, so first C2H5OH and CH3I. CH3I will remain as CH3I, and the formed C2H5OH further reaction with HI, and it converts also into C2H5I. Means we are getting alkyl halides only. Sir, this reaction is possible only with HI? No. With the HBr also similar reaction. Let us see. I am going to consider cyclic ether or tetrahydrofuran. Tetrahydrofuran upon reaction with HI. Say cold dilute HI. Or HBr. You may consider HBr. So first what happened? Here this OH converts into OH and this one converts into I. Means one of the OC bond in leavage takes place. This oxygen means first protonation and I minus attacks upon one of the carbon. Again this one is SN2 mechanism. And if it is hot concentrated HI, that means in case of hot concentrated HI, first formed product is this one. And later what happened? This one again upon reaction with HI, we are getting OH2 plus, means protonation takes place. Later I minus attacks upon this carbon and again SN2 mechanism resultant, we are getting diiodoalkane. See, with the cold dilute HI, only once substitution takes place, and after formation of OH means alcohol and alkyl iodide, reaction will be stopped. And with hot concentrated HI or with excess of HI, again formed alcohol further converts into alkyl iodide. Now, I am going to consider amazole. Anisole is nothing but a methoxybenzene. Methoxybenzene upon reaction with HI. Means here so far I was considered both are alkyl groups. So in such a case that was clear upon which alkyl group I minus attacks. And now I am going to consider one is a phenyl group, another one is alkyl group. So phenyl alkyl ethers. This one is a methyl phenyl ether. That's what we call anisole. Upon reaction with HI, oxygen gets protonated. So here oxygen gets protonated, and after protonation here this oxygen is going to get positive charge. Now for I minus there is possibility to attack upon either this carbon or this ring containing carbon. As we know very well, phenyl ring is electron rich. Phenyl ring is electron rich. Upon phenyl ring, attacking of I minus is highly difficult. Attacking of I minus upon phenyl ring is highly difficult. That's why this is not possible. So I minus prefers to attack upon methyl group. That's why what product we are getting here? Phenol plus CH3I. There. Until here. Means sir, you did not mention which HI you are using. Dilute cold HI na, hot concentrated HI na, which one you are using? My answer is whatever it is, you are getting the same product. Whatever HI you are using, either cold dilute HI or hot concentrated HI. So why sir? Why like that? Means if this one upon reaction with the HI, hot concentrated HI or excess of HI, okay, let us assume. Of course, now whatever I am writing, that reaction do not takes place. Let us see. So this ring remains as such, and OH, let us assume OH gets protonated. Now, can you expect that bond breaking, CO bond breaking here? First thing, here protonation also highly difficult because of, in case of phenols, oxygen lone pair is involved preferably in delocalization. That's why in case of phenols, oxygen has sp2 hybridized character. I'm repeating, oxygen everywhere sp3 hybridization, 2 bond pairs, 2 lone pairs. But in case of phenol, phenolic oxygen is sp2 hybridized but not sp3 hybridized. It has more sp2 character. Why it has more sp2 character? Because of oxygen lone pair readily participates in resonance with ring. That means oxygen carbon double bond character. Because of pi bond, oxygen has more sp2 character rather than sp3 character. Means availability of lone pair upon oxygen is less. Availability of lone pair upon oxygen is less. That's why what happened here? Here, ability to accept proton for this oxygen is less. That means OH2 plus converting into OH2 plus is highly difficult. Suppose if it happened. Okay, fine. Now there is no possibility for breaking of OC bond. So if so, then what we are getting here? Phenolic carbocation. This is highly unstable. So even though you are using hot concentrated HI, or cold dilute HI, in case of phenolic ethers, whether it is cold dilute HI or hot concentrated HI, products are not going to vary. Whereas in case of normal ethers, means aliphatic ethers or cyclic ethers, in both cases we can notice the different in products difference. Means in case of cold dilute HI we are getting alcohol and alkyl iodide. In case of hot concentrated HI we are getting only iodo products, right? So far we learned reaction with HI with respect to dialkyl ethers, means aliphatic ethers, and phenolic ethers. Now benzylic ethers, let us see. In case of benzylic ethers, say one is benzyl group, another one is alkyl group. Ether which consists, one is benzyl, another one is methyl. This one upon reaction with HI. So first oxygen gets protonated, pH CH2, OH, here plus CH3. Now, since benzyl carbocation is more stable, that's why CH3OH separate out and it forms ring containing CH2 plus. This benzyl carbocation is more stable. After formation of benzyl carbocation, I minus attacks upon this carbon, then we are getting benzyl iodide. We are getting CH2I benzyl iodide. Now, is it reaction with cold HI or hot HI? This one is with cold HI. With hot HI, what happened? With hot HI, further one more time reaction happens. Where here? Upon reaction with methyl alcohol, here one more time reaction happens. Then we are getting CH3I. That means in case of benzylic ethers, reaction proceeds via SN1 mechanism. Reaction proceeds via SN1 mechanism. Now, if it is diphenyl ether, upon reaction with HI, we are providing much heat. So, what product we are going to get? Shall I write? One is phenol, another one is iodobenzene. Is these two only products common, right? No reaction. Diphenyl ethers do not react with cold or hot concentrated HI because of phenyl ring. This ring containing carbon oxygen, this bond is not going to cleave. That's why diphenyl ethers do not react with HI, whether it is cold HI or hot HI. Next one is based on the same property, Jeisel method. This Jeisel method gives information regarding number of alkoxy group. Let us see. As we learned that in case of phenolic ethers, say anisole, upon reaction with HI, we learned that upon reaction with HI, this H goes to oxygen. Here always oxygen alkyl bond is going to break, but not oxygen phenyl group. I am repeating, in case of phenolic ethers, oxygen alkyl bond cleavage takes place, but not oxygen and phenyl group. Now this alkyl group combined with I and converts into alkyl iodide. So now Jeisel method, in this aspect it will be applicable to find out that number of alkoxy groups. How many alkoxy groups are there? Let us see here. Say a compound consists two alkoxy group like OCH3 like that. This one upon reaction with hot concentrated HI, we are getting here OH group and 2 moles of CH3I. So what number of alkoxy groups are there? That number of alkyl iodides we are getting, right? So what number of alkyl iodides we are getting? These alkyl iodides are passing into silver nitrate, AgNO3, and here AgI. So how many moles AgI precipitate you are getting? So when we are providing excess of silver nitrate here, you are getting silver iodide. How many moles of silver iodide we are going to get? That depending upon how many moles of alkyl iodides. So here 2 moles of alkyl iodides, that means 2 moles of silver iodide. This silver iodide dried, washed, and weighed, and you can find out the number of moles of silver iodide. So what means based on number of moles of silver iodide, you can predict number of moles of alkyl iodide, and based on number of moles of alkyl iodide, how many alkoxy groups are there in the given compound, that we can find out. Once again, Jeisel method, this method is used to find out number of alkoxy groups. But you should remember that this number of alkoxy groups attached to phenyl, attached to ring, but we are not supposed to apply this method to aliphatic ethers, because in aliphatic ethers all alcohols means you are not supposed means you are getting alkyl ionides. In case of aliphatic ethers, you are supposed to apply with the excess of hot concentrated HI. Then all alkyl groups are going to convert into alkyl ionides, right? But there this one is not useful. Only when the ring consists alkoxy groups, which upon reaction with excess of HI, even though excess of HI, phenols are not going to convert into iodobenzene. That's why phenol remains as such. So, in case of ring consists alkoxy groups, which upon reaction with HI, we are getting alkyl iodides. What number of alkoxy groups attached to the ring? The same number of alkyl iodides we are going to get. What number of alkyl iodides we are getting? And which upon treatment with excess of silver nitrate, here we are getting silver iodide precipitate. So we can wash, dry and weigh. We can find out that how many moles of silver iodide you are going to get. Now, based on number of moles of silver iodide, here you can find out that number of moles of alkyl iodide. What number of moles of alkyl iodide are formed here? Based upon that you can predict number of moles of alkoxy groups attached to the ring. Now let us see reaction with PCl5. With PCl5, let us recollect that property of alcohols. Alcohols upon reaction with PCl5 we are getting alkyl halide, HCl and POCl3. So in case of alcohols, ROH is there, which upon reaction with PCl5 we are getting RCl, HCl and POCl3. But in case of ethers we are having ROR. So ROR upon reaction with PCl5 we are getting 2 moles of alkyl halides and POCl3. There is no HCl here. In case of alcohols, here you are getting RCl and HCl POCl3. Whereas in case of ethers, we are getting 2 moles of RCl and POCl3. So how this reaction proceeds? Which mechanism it follows? Already we learned. Let us see one more time. ROR upon reaction with PCl5. Here 5 chlorine atoms are there, and PCl5 acts as electron pair acceptor. Means Lewis acid. It accepts electron pair from ethyl oxygen. Then we are getting ROR. Here oxygen is going to bear positive charge and phosphorus negative charge. Whenever it accepts electron, Cl minus has to leave. And here right now we are having only 4 chlorines. Right now we are having only 4 chlorines. And the Cl minus which comes out, that one attacks upon this alkyl group. So we are getting RCl. Means one of the product is RCl. And right now we are having ROP. Cl, Cl, Cl and Cl. Now one more time oxygen is going to get electron pair to this one. The resultant oxygen is going to bear positive charge and one of the Cl minus has to leave. The Cl minus which comes out, that one only attacks upon this alkyl group, that we are getting RCl and POCl3. Diethyl ether upon reaction with PCl5 we are getting 2 moles of ethyl chloride and POCl3. This reaction resembles properties of alcohols. In case of alcohols, we are getting RCl and HCl. But here you are not getting any HCl. We are getting only RCl. Now with acetyl chloride. So acetyl chloride or acyl chloride, CH3COCl. CH3COCl, acetyl chloride, upon reaction with ethers, say C2H5O, C2H5 diethyl ether, in presence of anhydrous ZnCl2 or anhydrous AnCl3. As we know very well, anhydrous ZnCl2 or anhydrous AnCl3, these are Lewis acids, electron pair acceptors. It facilitates more this reaction. See how this reaction performs. Here acid chloride, acetyl chloride, and this oxygen donates electron pair. Oxygen donates electron pair to carbonyl carbon, and this negative charge is satisfied by balance by anhydrous ZnCl2 or AlCl3. So CH3CO minus HCl, and oxygen is going to bear Positive charge here, it donates electron pair, and upon reversal, Cl minus has to come out. The Cl minus attacks upon this ethyl group, then we are getting C2H5Cl plus CH3, C double bond O, O C2H5, ethyl ethanoate. That means with acid chloride, with acetyl chloride, diethyl ether gives ethyl chloride and ethyl ethanoate. Similarly, instead of acid chloride, let us consider acetic anhydride. CH3, C double bond O, O, C double bond O, CH3. Here also same case. Instead of in presence of anhydrous ZnCl2 or AlCl3 catalyst, anhydrous ZnCl2 or AlCl3 catalyst, what happened? C2H5 O, C2H5. Here oxygen is going to form bond with this oxygen, C double bond group. Now O minus CH3, CH3, CO minus, and oxygen C double bond O, CH3. Upon reversal of this one, this CH3 CO minus comes out. Here oxygen is going to bear positive charge. The CH3 CO minus takes this C2H5. Then we are getting CH3 CO C2H5 ethyl acetate. And here what remains? C1 CH3 C double bond O C2H5 means 2 moles of ethyl acetate formed. So upon reaction with acetyl chloride or upon reaction with acetic anhydride, we are getting products. One is ester, acetyl chloride, one is ethyl chloride, another one is ester. Whereas with acetic anhydride, we are getting 2 moles of ester.